Here's a story about how one company completely rewrote the rules of business, and it all started by asking one simple question. Are you building a castle, or are you building an empire? This is the story of the one firm principle. Okay, so to really get why this was so huge, you gotta understand how things used to be. The world of big consulting firms, it was a totally different ballgame. Back then, every single office in every single city was basically its own little fortress. A castle, completely walled off, hoarding all of its own clients and secrets. And if the office was a castle, well, the partner in charge was the king. And each king ruled their own little kingdom, fiercely protecting their turf, even from other kings who worked for the very same company. What you had was this world of internal walls and moats. Just a bunch of little city-states flying the same flag, but secretly battling each other for money, for talent, for everything. So working together, yeah, that wasn't really happening. But then one firm, McKinsey, took a look at this whole messy map of disconnected castles and said, no, we're going to do something totally different. They didn't want another little castle. They wanted to build a global empire. But here's the twist. Their empire wasn't going to be built on higher walls or deeper moats. It was going to be built on bridges, on connection, on a network that spanned the entire globe. And that, right there, was the game-changing idea. They had to completely rewire how their leaders thought. They basically forced them to stop acting like petty kings protecting their little patch of dirt and start thinking like citizens of a massive connected empire, where a win for anyone was a win for everyone. So how'd they pull it off? It all came down to one single rule that changed absolutely everything. Everybody's money goes into one big global pot. All of a sudden, it didn't matter if your little office in Chicago had a good quarter. All that mattered was whether the entire empire was winning. Now, that one rule was the foundation, but they built this incredible system on top of it. Let's break down the 4 pillars they used to actually build this thing. Pillar number 1, a shared fate. This is that single global P&L we just talked about. Think about it. It just completely changes your incentives. Why would you hoard a client in London when you know that helping them with an expert from Tokyo makes the entire firm richer, which means more money in your pocket? Simple as that. Pillar 2, they called it forced collision. See, it wasn't enough to just share the money. They had to share the people. They made it an expectation that consultants would work on projects all over the world, outside their home office. This constant mixing of people and ideas was like a chemical reaction, creating this incredible web of relationships across the globe. The third pillar was the collective brain. They poured tons of money into building this massive central library of all their knowledge. This meant that some brilliant idea a team in Shanghai figured out on Monday could be found and used by a team in Sao Paulo on Tuesday. The wisdom of one became the wisdom of all. And finally, pillar number 4, a common language. They built a single, powerful global culture. How? By standardizing everything. How they hired people, how they trained people, how they evaluated people. It meant a consultant from Tokyo could drop right into a project in Munich, and instantly they'd be on the same page using the same playbook. It was the glue that held the whole empire together. But look, this whole journey wasn't perfect. Not by a long shot. Tearing down the castle walls, that solved old problems like infighting and hoarding knowledge. But it created new ones. The empire now had to fight against becoming a slow, bloated bureaucracy, or losing its local flavor, or dealing with the free rider problem, people who don't quite pull their own weight. So after all that, after seeing the old world of castles and this new world of the empire with all of its power and, all of its problems, what's the real lesson here? What are we supposed to take away from this? Well, the ultimate lesson is this. The most powerful, the most lasting, the most dominant empires, they are never the ones with the highest walls, the deepest moats, or the most heavily guarded borders. They're the ones with the strongest, the busiest, and the most well-traveled bridges. Because in the hyper-connected world we all live in now, the single most valuable thing you can build isn't a better product or some new tech. It is, without a doubt, a culture of connection. And that leaves us with one final, simple question. A question for any leader, any team, any organization. Just look at the work you do every single day and ask yourself, are you laying bricks for another wall, or are you laying the foundation for a bridge?